What is up, podcast land? Welcome to another episode of the Two Dates and a Dash podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cubbler. Before I introduce a guy that, if you're under a rock, you may not know who he is, but everyone else who's ever watched Discovery Channel once in the last 20 years knows who Joe Teti is. He was an amazing guy on the Dual Survival TV show that, if you remember that, it had like 7 seasons, I think, somewhere around there. Great show. One of my favorites when Discovery and all that first started. But before we talk to Joe, I want to first tell everybody where they can hear the podcast. Pretty much anywhere. iTunes, iHeart, Pandora, wherever. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, that's where you can find it. If you get a chance, please leave a review if you have the opportunity to do that. Please subscribe. And also, if you haven't yet and you are a subscriber, please click the automatic download. All that does is it saves you the trouble having to do it, and it automatically gives me credits of having people watching the show. And it's just a metrics thing, and you know how it is. The show's sponsored by Force Strength, which is my company. We are the leaders in eccentric strength training technology. We have a piece of equipment called the Force 250 and the Force 350 that allows us to offload weight from a barbell or any other piece of equipment. So imagine you have 300 pounds on a squat bar and you lower that 300 pounds, but you can only lift that one time, but you want to do it multiple times because that's how you burn, you tear more muscle fiber. My machine attaches to that barbell in the center with a cable and offloads weight so you can lift up a lighter weight. So say 300 down, 200 up. It's kind of like the secret to strength and development. Being able to tear the muscle, which is usually done slow, under tension, under heavier weight. That's kind of how you do it. So that's what my equipment does. We're used in the Pittsburgh Steelers, Detroit Red Wings, New York Mets, and a bunch of other high schools and colleges. So if anybody's interested in that, go to eforcestrength.com. I'm going to ask Joe one question that I always ask the same question to every single person. Nothing ever changes about the show. But before I do that, I want to introduce Joe Teti. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good, Matt. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
So just give everybody a little history. So if you're a fan of the show, you know that, I don't know, maybe 25 episodes ago, I had on my buddy Dale Comstock, the American badass, former Delta operator, just an all dude. If it's, I always tell people the only person Chuck Norris is afraid of is Dale Comstock.
Ain't no lie.
His resume reads like a fantasy football all-star team in one person. So if you get a chance, go back and watch that episode with Dale Comstock, the American badass. Anyways, Dale and Joe started a company together called Tier 1 Consulting. I think there's Performance and Consulting, maybe I think it's called. And they're just two really high speed, low drag, military guys, special forces, just all around like high performing individuals. And that's why they formed together. So without further ado, my man, Joe.
Yeah, Matt. So Dale and I actually worked together. Well, I'd known Dale didn't know him personally, but like I knew of him years ago when I was in SF. But then when I got recruited for a government counter-terrorist unit that Dale and I both served in, I became, really good friends with him. So we got a chance to deploy together and we got to know each other really well, and we've maintained a friendship. So we actually formed Tier 1 Performance Coaching not long ago because, to be quite honest with you, no disrespect to anybody else, but like if you call some of these performance coaching companies, and I have, and I've literally asked them, like, can you kind of tell me your credentials? If you're going to teach me and coach me on performing, what have you done? And I don't want to be coached by somebody who's like read a book and, maybe got some certificate and that's it. I want to know what you have done personally to coach me on being, a higher performing individual. Because Albert Einstein said it the best: the only source of knowledge is experience. Yeah. And so Dale's got a ton of it. I'm a good second place behind him, and I'm happy. But yeah, we bring a lot of experience, over 50 years of experience at high level, not just in military, like we've done, Dale has done a lot. He's not just a former Delta operator and been on TV. And same with me. I'm not just a TV guy. I'm a former Marine, Force Recon guy, Green Beret, served in the most secretive government counterterrorist unit in the world. with Dale, where it was extremely hard to get into. Just to pass the polygraph test, 50% of the guys failed. And their primary recruiting ground was from Delta and SEAL Team 6. And half of the guys don't even pass the polygraph. So you can do the math on that one. My class, my OTC class, 4 guys. 4. Anyway, so we formed this performance coaching company, and yeah, man, like we bring a lot to bear. We use a very proprietary formula called psychosoma training that, it's mind and body and spirit, but not spirit so much as in a religious sense, but like in the ether, like energy, and you get into, neurolinguistics and all this stuff that Dale is an expert at. He's got a doctorate in this stuff. So I understand it and I've used it, but Dale can explain it down, can dumb it down for guys like me. So, but it works. This is the kicker, bro. It works. It's not happenstance. It's not, oh, you got lucky. That's crap. You don't get lucky over and over and over and over. A lot of people don't even know this about me. Between my Marine Corps and Army career, I was a stockbroker for a Wall Street firm. Bear Stearns.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 5 years. I went to UNLV, took the Longman series, got my Series 7, my 63, my 24, my options principal, and I was also a registered investment advisor. So, I've done a little bit of everything. I'm a real estate investor, cyber currency trader. I've done a little bit of everything. And yeah, have I failed? Of course. Failing, as is you'll learn more from failing than you will from succeeding. So, we threw that together, and things are going really, really well, man. Got a lot of interest, and it's my passion. I love training, dude. Like, I love to train. That's my thing. And being able to help somebody be a better person, it doesn't get better than that,
Well, I always tell, I do a lot of mentoring of kids. I have a rule of thumb. I don't have the patience to try to unfuck another adult. Like, I don't have that. I'm not the dog for that fight. And because
right.
I have a patience level of 0. Whereas people say I have 0 fucks to give for that. So that's kind of where I steer clear of, because I just don't have the patience. But kids are new. Like they just want to sponge. They want to soak things up. So I've been mentoring kids for years. And the best part of helping somebody, it doesn't matter if it's an adult or a kid, is it's a high that no one's ever going to tell you not to do over and over again. Right? It's a drug that you get through your satisfaction and that feeling of I did something good for somebody. And you can do that as many times as you want, which is the best part about all of that. That's why charity is great. That's why volunteering is great. That's why all those things, people do that because it makes them feel good. There's nothing wrong with it.
That's right. It's so funny you should say that. I just had a coaching session a little while ago, and I was just talking about the 15 alpha male imperatives. And you hit one of them right on the button. Do good for the sake of goodness, be kind to others, and show empathy and charity. A real man will do that, and it's so funny because one of the things that, Dale and I are talking about right now is to coach young men. And when I mean young men is, between like 13 and 17 before they go out into the world, because, man, I hate to say this, and it makes me sick as a man, but, and you tell me what you think, like, men have been emasculated. Like, it's not cool to be a manly man anymore. And I don't get it. I refuse to be that other person. Like, there's a way to be a manly man, but not be overbearing, and like what you were just saying, being charitable, being kind, that doesn't mean you're weak. You're being humble. But this whole thing, and I've got friends, that have just, as I've grown up, they've just been emasculated so bad. I'm like, dude, you need to go to aisle 3 in Walmart and buy yourself a set of balls. Like, seriously. And it's sad. What do you think, dude? What do you think?
I think there's a fine line. And so in my family, so I have a 22-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old son, and they were taught the same way. It doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl.
Right.
You give your very best in everything that you do. You train harder than your opponent.
That's right.
You never start a fight, but you finish every one of them. Be nice, be kind, don't be a dick. Like, that's really the mantra of my family. And the realities is that there is nothing handed to you. You were never given anything. Everything you ever wanted, you must work for, train for, educate yourself for.
Right.
I will give you as many opportunities to be able to go do that
Right.
as your father, but I'm not giving you any of those things.
Right.
I will open up doorways and say, this is yours. If you
Right.
want it, you'll get it.
That's
And
right.
when it comes to masculinity in and of itself, there's a fine line. You know, I'm known as a crier. I will get emotional when I need to be emotional. Like there's
Sure.
stuff in me if a friend of
Sure.
mine dies or my brother died, and
Of
like there's all
course.
those things that's a real thing, and that's part of being a man.
That's
Is
right.
being able to knock somebody's fucking teeth in, but yet
That's
cry
right.
when you're feeling an emotion that requires you to have that emotion,
Absolutely.
and then being in
Absolutely.
control of all of that.
That's correct. I couldn't agree with you more. And it's so funny as you were talking, I was just reading down our 15 alpha male imperatives, and like you hit like 8 of them. And so I agree with you.
That
100%.
was not pre-planned, everybody. That was
No,
not
actually, it
pre-planned.
wasn't. I actually had this done. But no, it's true. And, I just think that our youth today are so lacking. You've got a lot of single parents, women, that are successful, make a lot of money, good leaders, alpha women that, and I think that's fantastic, that are raising their children, their boys, girls, and it's specifically the boys. And they're lacking that male role model. And sadly, from my experience from dating and just knowing a lot of people in that situation, I would say a majority of the women will tell you, yeah, my husband he's just not there. He's not a good role model. He's this, he's that. And I'm just thinking, geez, like how are these kids going to grow up without a good male role model? I hate to say this, but they're doomed. They're just doomed. They stay on Xbox all day. They're on their phones all day. They don't go outside. They don't, a lot of kids these days are overweight. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And you have these, phenomenal women out there that are raising their sons the best they can, but they're still women. I mean, they don't have that male role model. So what I'm trying to acquiesce is this. We're going to try to target some of these young men and give them coaching as well on how to be a man. And everything you said, like I'll give you a perfect example. I just said this to a friend of mine. He was shocked. Like where I came from, you used to tell your male friends, I love you. And let me tell you something, brother. I worked in an ultra alpha male community. Like you could smell, the testosterone. But you still, hey, brother, I love you. There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean I'm in love with you.
Right.
But and these are all parts of being a man. It's okay to say stuff like that. It's not in a sexual way. It's just in a loving way. Like, man, I love you. I lay my life down for you. And I think that's a very important ingredient that kids need to know, that it's okay to say this kind of stuff and to be that way, but still consider yourself a man, an alpha male. I was a beta. I'll be honest with you. When I grew up, dude, I was bullied and I didn't play sports. I weighed like 99 pounds. I went in the Marines. I was a mess, train wreck. And only because I was around those kind of guys for so long, it just kind of rubbed off on me, and that's self-admittedly. I wasn't born an alpha male. Now, are some guys born an alpha male? Sure, absolutely. You're like born leaders. I wasn't one of them. I just wasn't. But I've been around those kind of guys for so long, especially my last tenure with this government unit. You were in a room with just raging type A guys. Like it was just, wolf pack mentality, and just, ultra, just overachievers, aggressive, so it rubbed off on me. And, I just think it's important because look, these are future leaders of our world. And look at the shit sandwich we're in right now. It's like, really? It ain't going to get much better. These guys need to be ready to go to the mattress, man, and slug it out. And you can't be that alpha male. You're just going to get walked all over. That's my opinion. But
no, we're tracking the same way. I think at the end of the day, the things that I've learned in my 30 years of government service at all different levels, and being raised by a single mom, and
right.
my stepdad didn't come into the picture until I was 12, but I had strong male role models throughout my life that weren't my father, but people
right.
that at different periods of my life when I needed that,
right,
stepped in and provided that. And it's imperative. And that's why I mentor. I was mentored by a cop when I got arrested when I was 16. And and he sort of steered me in the direction I was going in.
Sure.
And because I looked at him and I said, I want to be like that guy. And
Exactly.
I watched his mannerisms. I watched how he talked to people. I watched how he interacted with kids. I watched how he interacted with his wife. Like I just absorbed and I observed all the things that I thought, that guy's the kind of guy that I want to be like. And at the end of the day, it comes down to your life experiences, right? I think part of, and we didn't really touch on it, part of the issue of the masculinity problem within males today, especially the younger ones, is that there isn't the ability to have the experiences required to walk out the door at 18 to go do whatever. You're going to college, going to trades, going to military, whatever it is, to be prepared for that. Because we live in a society where everybody is sheltered. Everybody has some insulation around them. There is there's a level of that's good enough.
Ooh, two worst words we use. I always tell the people I'm coaching, don't ever use the word good enough, ever. And it's so funny. I got slam dunked one time. As a matter of fact, when I was going through the operator course for this unit that I was in, that Dale and I were in, I remember we were on the range. It was going through a shooting package. And we had this instructor on the range, and he basically said, he's like, hey, do you think you're good enough to be here? And I said, yes, sir, I'm good enough to be here. And he's like, guess what? You're not. We don't need good. We need great. And I was like, oh, wow. I get it. You know what I mean? So I don't like those two words. I think they're the worst words you can put together is good enough, because it sets the bar. That's it. I'm there. I'm good enough. And you and I both know that's if you want to perform at optimal levels, you got to raise the bar, and you're going to fail along the way. And that's fine. Just like shooting. I was talking the other day, I watch these guys shoot, and they punch out the center of their target, and they got this pretty target, but they're shooting slow and they're doing all the fundamentals, sight alignment, sight pitcher, grip stance, breathing, follow through, trigger press, but they're going cha-king, cha-king. I'm like, speed it up. And then all of a sudden their shot group starts getting bigger. That's great. Just dial it back down. That's the only way you're going to get better, So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. That is absolutely one of the reasons, Matt.
I think, the world we're living in today is a constantly, well, there's two things. Number one, we're not necessarily sure what's real and what's not in the world. There's so much ambiguity and there's so much misinformation, and you have to rely on people that you know their background, know who they are, their heart and their purity, and then whether or not there's somebody that can. I always tell people, if it's not helping you, it's hurting you. Those are my only. When anybody asks me why do I do something, I make a decision. If it's not helping me, it's hurting me. Even if it's a person that I'm friends with, if you're not helping me get to where I want to go, because that's our job as humans, is to help each other get to where we want to be, and that's what leaders do. And I think when you said in the very beginning that, and I'm a inspirational speaker, I'm a podcast host, I have a book, I've done a lot of different things. I'm a cop, I do all things. So I own a business, and I don't seek out help unless I need help, but I also recognize greatness when it's around me. Right. So I know when I'm around people that I know are going to enhance me, I don't need to go up and say, teach me, because I'm going to trust me. I'm paying attention to everything. That's my job. But when there's a lot of people, I call them the charlatans, who are in the business that you're in. And I'm sort of in it in a youth-based way, but there's a lot of people that have done nothing, read a lot of books, are very good at explaining or teaching. You always say those that can't do coach or teach. But I do believe that there is also a place for people that did do it and can coach it. And it comes down to what are you trying to, as the person seeking out someone like you or Dale, what is it you're trying to gain from this? Like, if you want to have true success or true results, if you're going to somebody that's 26 years old, there's a lot of 26-year-old inspirational speakers out there. Well, no offense. There's no fucking thing you're going to tell me at 26 that I haven't done 3 times over in the last 49 years. So and your one moment that you are hanging on to might be good for one person who can attach themselves to your one moment. But to get better as a person, you got to have somebody that's been through the 360 of life.
That's right. Yeah. Dale calls them one-trick ponies. They may be able to teach you one thing, but that's about it. And I agree. I think the best coaches out there, in my personal opinion, are people like Dale and myself, but, not just because of our military backgrounds or anything else, but like, we have succeeded and failed at things.
And sometimes the same thing.
That's right. And so that's important in growth, is to understand you're going to fail. There ain't nobody I know that has never failed at anything. Okay. Nobody. And so it's what you do with those failures and how you use that information either to the good or to the bad that propels you to the next level. And, I've had to rebuild myself twice financially. I've been wiped out twice financially. I mean, where I had nothing, and then, I built myself back up, and, I learned, okay, I made some really stupid mistakes. I took some big risks, didn't do my homework, blah, blah, blah. One basically was just the real estate market tanked in 2008, and I had major investments in real estate, and I got crushed. That I really couldn't predict. But yeah, man, I really think that the good performance coaches out there, well, not the good, the great ones, they stand on a level of not only are they able to transmit the information, because look, as well as I do, there's a lot of good guys that are good at stuff, but they can't teach crap. Like, I know a lot of good shooters, but if they're like, hey, go teach that guy, they don't have the patience. They're like, yeah. Like, you have to be able to communicate the information to these people in a way that they understand it. And you also have to base off experience. So like when I'm coaching somebody, I'll tell them something, like, let me tell you what happened. Boom. And I'll give them a story. And then they go, oh, wow. Because I'm relating it to something like this happened to me, and this is what road it took me down, and how it could have turned out really bad. And some did turn out really bad. But and I talk about it in my book. My book's coming out in May. And I talk about a lot of this stuff.
Well, that's a great segue. You might as well host my show. Jesus Christ. So let's talk about your book. Because I still got to ask you the fucking question that I ask everybody. So, but let's talk about the book. That's a good segue.
Yes, so it's called Lone Operator. It's coming out May 10th. It's basically an autobiography, but it's also a lessons learned. So I'll talk about something, and then I'll talk about lessons learned. One chapter I talk about something that happened to me in Afghanistan. One chapter is, about a tragedy in my life. Another one's about relationships, but it's all lessons learned.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And, look, would it apply to everybody? No, of course not. But here's what I tell people. When I read a book, if I can just get one gold nugget out of it, just one, money well spent. And that's what I tell people. If you got this toolbox, full of all kind of tools, you got a wrench and a screwdriver and pliers and a hammer, you can take those tools out and fix a lot of things. But if you're just walking around a hammer and you're trying to screw a screw into the wall, you can't do it. You got to have the proper tools. And I'm really proud of my book, man. I think I got like C's and D's in English, so I actually partnered up with a guy, Liam Wolf, former Intel guy, Navy Intel guy. And
we won't hold that against him.
No, real smart guy. What was great, dude, is that he knew all the acronyms. I didn't have to explain to him. He's like, what is that? He never said that. So basically I wrote the book. He cleaned it up. He's like, hey, there's a gap here. Like, you lost me, da-da-da. So anyway, Liam really, really helped me out on that. And I'm very proud of it, man. It took a year. It took 1 year to write it. And I'm real proud of it. It's my first book. Yeah, man, hopefully, people buy it and read it. It's especially people watch the show. A lot of people want to know about me growing up. And I talk about when I was a kid, playing commando and all this neat stuff that I used to do as a kid. I used to sneak into the Union Railroad roundhouse and all kinds of stuff, and I was always fantasizing about being that commando guy. And we took it pretty serious, me and a buddy of mine. We would plan out missions and stuff, and it's really cool. I don't want to give away the book, but yeah, man, it comes out May 10th, and it's on Amazon right now. You can pre-sell, you can pre-buy it. It's on Amazon, Lone Operator, and it's also in Walmart, online in Walmart.
Well, I'll make sure I put a link to everything on the social media on all the different platforms I post this on. It'll be in the show notes. I'll put all that out there for you.
Thanks, bro.
All right. So I asked this one question to the same question to every person. Who is Joe Teti?
Who is Joe Teti?
And it's however you answer that is up to you.
Oh, geez. Wow. Okay. Well, when you said that to me, the first thing that popped into my mind, and I normally that's the first thing that somebody thinks is, I'm always looking for the next mountain to climb. Not physically, but just in business, in life. I get bored real easy. I'm always looking for something to challenge me. Matter of fact, I was training for an Ironman right up to the point where this coronavirus came in, and Murphy's Law kiboshed that whole thing. But I had trained for almost 6 months. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, what is today? Yeah, I would have already raced it. I would already done the race, so that didn't happen. So I trained my ass off, dude. I was swimming 6,000 meters a week, biking. I got a triathlon bike. I was running. I was ready. The only thing that I was kind of concerned about was the run. The swim, I had it cold. I had my mile times down way below where they needed to be. The bike, I'm not really built for swimming or running, but biking, I got short, stocky legs. I run like an ape, and I look like a log going through the water. But I can get there. But yeah, man, I was ready to rock and roll, and then this happened. So, and I've done a bunch of sprint triathlons, and none of them, to be honest, were really challenging. Like I'd finish and go, all right, like I could probably do that again. But an Ironman, the one I was going to race in, a good friend of mine did, and it actually put him in the hospital with kidney failure. So they're no joke, because it's a 2.4 mile swim, then a 112 mile bike, and then a marathon. So it's no joke. People that actually do those, there's some bad mofos. And everyone that I've ever talked to, and I talked to a lot of people that run them and ask for advice and stuff like that. I'm like, where should I train to? I don't want to overtrain. And they all said the same thing. You're going to suck up the last quarter of everything. Like don't be out there swimming 2.4 miles. Swim 1.5 miles, 2. That's it. You're going to suck up the last part. Same with the bike and same with the run. So, I'm really bummed because, man, I was rocking, dude. I was crushing it. And, matter of fact, I remember getting out of the pool one day, and they had the swim team there. And the coach of the swim team, he came up to me and he's like, "Can I ask you how far you just swam?" And I said, 40 laps. And he's like, 40 laps? It's like, what's that, like 1.25 miles? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why? I'm like, I'm training for an Ironman. He's like, oh. But yeah. So who is Joe Teti? Yeah, I'm that guy that's always looking to raise the bar, looking for a challenge, always looking to I love training. That's my big thing. I love to train. I woke up this morning, went for a run, and I went for matter of fact, when you called me originally, I kind of wussed out. I was going to do a 50 miler, but I actually started cramping up pretty bad, so I only did 40, and then on my bike. But yeah, man, I'm all about challenging myself. And you know what's so funny, Matt? This all goes back. That's a great question. This all goes back to that alpha male. What does an alpha male do? He's challenging himself. He's challenging himself for his wife, for his kids, to make himself better every day, raising the bar, making yourself 1% better, 1%. And that's why I coach people, and I'll give you a perfect example, not to get off, but like I told this gentleman today, I said, here's what I want you to do, because he's lacking confidence and some other things, and he wants to be tougher. I said, here's what I want you to do. I said, do you take a hot shower in the morning? He's like, yes, sir. I said, guess what? You're not anymore. You're taking an ice cold one. He's like, well, why would I do that? Because it sucks. That's why. Because it sucks. It doesn't feel good. You're making yourself mentally. He's like, wow, I never even thought about that. And I did it at the gym. Before I got in the pool, I took an ice cold shower. Then I would sit in the sauna. Before I left the gym, ice cold shower. Hurt. And that's all part of it. So that's who I am. I'm always looking ways to test myself, whatever, physically, mentally, emotionally. I love to read. I don't do fiction, bro. Like, if I'm not learning something, I don't want to read it. Right. But yeah, that's pretty much who I am. I'm a pretty, face value guy. Love me or hate me. I'm very, blunt, very, like, I always tell people, be careful what you ask me. If you ask me a direct question, I'm going to give you a direct answer. I'm not going to be rude, but yeah, man, I'm living my life. I'm very happy right now. This is probably the best place I've ever been in. And as well as I do, if you don't have all the cylinders firing in your life, like, one time I had, almost $1 million in my bank account, but I was miserable in my relationship. And then I had a great relationship and I didn't have any money. And you know what I mean? It was all over the place. I'm kind of like right in that sweet spot right now. I'm healthy. I'm in the best shape of my life. I've got money. This is my Z06 Corvette behind me right here.
Nice.
Yeah, it's my baby. So yeah, man, and money isn't everything. Look, I've had it and lost it. Money doesn't measure the man. I just like nice cars. But yeah, man, I'm real happy right now, dude. And I know that's a fleeting thing. It comes and goes and it ebbs and flows, but I'm very happy right now. I'm happy with my life. I've got good friends. I just partnered with Dale. Very excited to work with him. And I'm in control of my own destiny. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I will ever work for somebody else again, ever.
I think two of the things that resonate with me is A, the always looking for a mountain to climb. And then B, that you're in your sweet spot. That you're in your best spot that you've been in. And I think we'll do the second one first. Knowing that is a series of having not been in the best spot before. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, the extremes, where the highs and lows are, and how you got to each one of those places.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's what gets you to be in your best spot. Like, you wouldn't know that it's your best spot until you weren't in your best spot. And that leads me to my second point. And I had told you on text earlier that when you said you were going out for your ride, that I ran across New Jersey. And people ask me all the time, why would you run across New Jersey? And you don't know the story, but my brother had an autistic older brother who stuttered, who passed away in 1989 in a car accident. So that death sent me into a depression that lasted for 13 years. And I wrote a book about my life with my brother. And that was kind of my cathartic healing time coming out of that. And then in 2008, and that was 2006 when I published the book. In 2008, I ran across New Jersey. And when you were telling what people were telling you to do to train for that Ironman, I have a joint disease where I have rheumatoid arthritis and my joints are fusing together. So running is literally the opposite of what I should be doing. So, but I knew that when I decided to run, I wanted to create the ultimate train wreck. Like, I wanted people to go, what in the fuck is he doing?
Sure. Because
that's the only way they're going to give money to a charity is if I'll pay to see that. Like that's what I wanted them to do. So
the circus is in town.
Yeah. And anybody who knows me knows that I hate running, and running is the least thing I would want to do, but I'm going to go run 78.8 miles. And so I ran 3 marathons in 3 consecutive days. I would draw a line on the road where I stopped for the day and then start at that spot again. And I ran every step, and I didn't run any more than 7 miles straight prior to running 3 marathons in a row.
Wow.
25 miles was the most ever trained in any one week because my body would never have gotten
to
the actual event.
Right.
And then I said to myself, well, I can do anything once. At least that's what I told myself. Like, I've never not finished something. I may not have succeeded, but I've never not finished.
Right.
And I said, I'll finish. There's nothing that will keep me from finishing. So long story short, I ran the 78.8 miles. I had a seizure at mile 40 where my entire body locked up, one giant body cramp, like everything. Like, I was like this. Broke 6 bones in my feet, and still ran the entire thing. But that's not what I learned from that. What I learned from that was what my very best looked like.
Sure.
Like, I thought when I went to basic, when I went to Intel school, when I went SWAT basic, when I became a SWAT instructor, when I did HRT, all these things, I'm like, I gave my very best at every one of them. Not even fucking close. I was never pushed mentally, physically, or emotionally farther than I did during that run. And that's what I learned. And so when I talk to people about effort, about grit, about resiliency, about what does your very best look like, everyone says they gave their very best until they've actually given their very best.
Sure. And
whether that's in combat, in a battle, whether it's, I just had John Chapman, remember John Chapman?
Oh, yeah.
His sister, who wrote Alone at Dawn. Yeah. So I had her on the podcast, and John Chapman gave his fucking very best. Like,
sure,
he was the baddest dude on the mountain that day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's your very best, and it doesn't have to end the way John's did, but those are the moments when you give your very best, and it's not 100 times in your life. It may be once.
Right. Once, yeah, I was gonna say it's one time, maybe twice.
But once
Yeah,
you know what that is, you kind of know where everything else is.
yeah.
You know where everything else falls in that effort
Right.
level.
Yeah. It's very profound, and I agree with you 1,000%. And you know what the sad thing is, Matt, is sadly, most people will never feel that. They'll never know what their best is. And that's one of the reasons why Dale and I are doing what we're doing, because I'm a prime example. I was that kid in high school that was afraid of my own shadow. I didn't play any sports. I was bullied. I mean, it went on and on and on. I lost my mother in 11th grade. I mean, blah, blah, blah. I was a train wreck. And I never thought in a million years that I would ever get to do what I got to do. I mean, so it's sad. And people, the funny, well, it's not actually funny. It's tragic. You can actually do it to yourself. You don't need to be a SWAT guy. You did it to yourself. It's self-induced. You have the magic wand to do it. And a lot of people just don't even know that. You've been there, done that. You've been in the military, intelligence, SWAT guy, HRT, you've done it all. But the thing that actually raised the bar so high for you was self-induced. What a tragic thing for people to go through life, to be laying on their deathbed going, I wonder if I would have been able. Too late. And that's what I tell people when I coach them. Yesterday's gone. You have now and tomorrow, and unless you got to get out of jail free pass from God, there ain't no guarantee for tomorrow. There's just a now. That's it. And I can't, when people say I'll do it tomorrow, it's like, oh, no. Stop. Get out of that mindset right now. And yeah, what you said is very profound. It's you did it to yourself. And if more people would understand, they can do the same exact thing. And they may not have rheumatoid arthritis and all that crap, and they can still do it. And it doesn't have to be a run across the state. It could be anything. But until you've proven to yourself that you're able to do things that not even you were able, you're never going to get the peak performance. You're never really going to live that badass life where you're on your deathbed and you go, wow, you know what? I'm good. And I can honestly say that if the good Lord was to take me right now, and I would just be like, you know what? I've been blessed with a very cool life, and I've pushed myself to do things that I'm very proud of, and that's very comforting to me for my own mortality. You know what I mean? Like for my own mortality, it's very comforting to know if my end were to come, I'm okay with it. I really am. And I'm not trying to sound morbid. I'm just being honest. I'm being honest.
So I'm sure you didn't give any thought into the name of the podcast. 2 dates and a dash. So your life is made up 2 dates, the date you're born, the date you die, and the dash is what you do with it. That's why I named it. That's why I named the podcast this because that's literally the dash is really all that matters.
Yeah. I did not know that, but yeah, that's you bought spot on that. But yeah, I feel sorry when I meet people that just, and they have the potential. They do. You talk to them. I've got a very dear friend of mine that I've known for many, many years, and he's one of them. The guy is just a stellar human being, smart as a whip, hardworking, and he doesn't know how to come out of that comfort zone. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, brother, you can do so much more. And I've talked to him for years and years and years, and he's just comfortable. And that's what he's like, Joe, I'm comfortable. I don't need to do that. Okay. But sadly, if people would actually just take that extra step and do something unequivocal and go, wow, what a freaking paradigm that was. It'll change your whole life.
Sometimes it's a moment that happens to somebody, cancer or somebody dies like me. Like listen, I was the biggest smoke and mirror motherfucker on the planet. I could sell pot in the bathroom and then go get a 4.0 in the grades, and nobody would know either one was happening. Like I was smoking mirrors, and I was cool with that until my brother died.
Right.
And then I went into a complete tailspin in my personal life.
Sure.
And I achieved a lot, but I didn't achieve it because I gave a shit. It was just,
Right.
I was in like my motor control was just, I was on autopilot and I was just doing. And it wasn't until I came out of that I realized that I have a gift that was given to me, which was my brother's life and his story and the way that he lived his life that I can now share with other people, which opened up everything else in my life. And sometimes the person who's comfortable hasn't yet had that moment that defines them, that makes them go, and it's a very, very thin ledge, because some people fall off and go down the deep side and other people rise above and come out. I was lucky to have been on both sides and came out on the positive. So that's the weird part about life and performance is sometimes you got to get kicked in the dick.
Yeah.
And hope, and then you're testing yourself on whether or not getting kicked in the dick was something that's going to make you just fall backwards and curl up in a ball or seize.
Sure. It's so funny because like I had a severe phobia of heights when I was in
then you went Halo.
Yeah. So dude, that's what I'm about to tell you. So yeah, I was afraid of heights bad. Like even looking out my window in my house out on the street, I would get kind of woozy. And so of course, you know, I was static line qualified. You have to be just to be in special forces, but then there's Halo school, high altitude, low opening. And so I actually got a quota for it, which was hard to get at that time. And I remember going, oh boy, you know, because static line jumping is one thing. I mean, you basically just jump out of the damn plane, the static line pulls your chute and you land. It's not like, literally, if you want to close your damn eyes and go for the ride, you can.
Right.
Halo jumping, you can't do that. So I remember, and this is that moment, I remember my first jump in Halo school like it was yesterday. And I remember, you know, by twos, you had an instructor and a student for your first like 4 jumps, one-on-one. And I remember seeing these guys diving off the back. I mean, I start shaking when I think about it, man. And I've had plenty of jumps since then. As a matter of fact, I got my own parachute sitting right over here. But anyway, I remember seeing the ramp getting closer and closer and the jump master going, go, go, you know, that. And I remember looking down and literally for a flash, I remember looking out of my bedroom window. It was the weirdest thing. And here I was at, you know, 12.5, you know, getting ready to do my first free fall jump. And yeah, I tumbled, you know, I was all out of control and, you know, I stabilized, but you know, it was that moment when I graduated from that school, from Halo school, is when I thought, wow, my biggest fear, cut the head right off of it. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, it scared the shit out of me, dude. Like all I did in Halo school was I jumped, went back to Moon Hall, ordered Chinese food, ate, went to sleep. Like I wasn't PTing or nothing. I was exhausted. You're on that adrenaline dump, like, but yes, it was a defining moment in my life that basically said, you know, you can do this. It may suck and you may be scared, but you can do it. But yeah, I remembered I could close my eyes right now and I could just see everything clear as day. And like, here I am looking out my window in my house. And now I'm looking down 12,500 feet. And oh, and by the way, that little thing right here, you better pull that shit. Right. You know what I'm saying? So
well, I think the best part about all of those experiences you've had, and we're going to talk about dual survival in a second, is that when you're coaching now, your job is to unlock that box in another person's brain.
Yes,
like, how do I figure out what their motivator is, what their trigger is, what their catalyst is, what is their fear, and how do I put that in a way that they can absorb and then go out and use as an action item to become better. And that's the best part about coaching anybody, whether it's kids
I love it,
or adults.
It's very challenging, and I love it. I love it because you're putting pieces together, and everybody's different. You can't do the cookie cutter thing. Everyone's different. Yeah,
I love it. All right, so for anybody that knows Discovery Channel, and listen, you've had some really good episodes on dual survival, and a lot of drama that came out of that show. You know, there was a lot of tension, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
And for anybody that remembers, I can't remember the exact years, but I remember I would watch it all the time. And you had Mr. No Shoes, whatever his name was.
Cody
Lundin. The guy that didn't wear any shoes anywhere. And then you had the other guy that came after him. And
Matt Graham.
Yeah, so there's different co-hosts with you. And
Yes.
but the show was based on putting in a bunch of different environments and teaching you how to survive those environments. So the one guy that's, he's an expert in tree leaves and berries and reptiles or whatever. And, and you're the
primitive survival skills.
right.
Yeah.
So that's the basis of the show. And Joe was one of the co-stars for how many years?
I was on for 3 years. The show was on, I think, for 6 or 7. I was on for 3 seasons. Yep.
So Joe was on that show, and that's when the world got to know who you were. Let's talk about how, because I know Dale's story and how he got onto his shows he was on and
sure.
and all that. But how did you go from Force Recon to Special Forces Army guy to I'm now a TV star on Discovery? Because, and I don't know, did you ever watch American Muscle with Mike Barwis?
Yes, I did.
So he's my business partner. I own E-Force with him.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, good on you, man. Cool.
Yeah, so he's a good dude. But anyways, so how did you go into that transition on the Discovery Channel?
Bro, you can't even make this up. This is I'll condense the story way down. So I was still in that unit, and so I was in California, out in the desert, training MARSOC, the Marine Special Operations Command guys, for a pre-deployment train-up. And so I was hired by another company to do it. So I was staying in this hotel, and a friend of mine calls me one day, and he says, "Hey, dude, did you get this email that's going around the community, the Spec Ops community?" I said, what are you talking about? He's like, "Discovery's looking for some, Spec Ops guy for a show." I'm like, "No, I haven't seen it." He goes, "Let me forward it to you." She sent it to me. Now, you got to understand, I was in a black unit. So I was like, TV, no. So he sends it to me, and I just read it and just totally dismissed it. He called me every day for 2 weeks. "Dude, send in they wanted a resume and a picture, right?" And I'm like, "I'm not interested." He bugged me so much. I said, "You know what? Just to shut you the hell up, I'm going to send in my bio and a picture." So I did. So about 3 weeks later, I get a call from this guy. I don't remember his name. He's like one of their talent reps. He's like, "Hey, my name's so-and-so, and we've got your bio and your resume." And yeah, this is what he said to me. He goes, "Yeah, real interesting, but don't get your hopes up. We had 1,800 people turn in their information." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." Like, whatever.
Right.
So like another week goes by, and the same guy calls me back. He says, "Hey, just to let you know, you're down to the top 200, I think it was." Yeah. And I said, "Okay, sir, thanks. I appreciate it." Again, just not even paying attention. Then I get a call about a week later from a woman. And she says, "You're down to the top 5, and we need you to go to Arizona to do a chemistry test with the other host." And I'm like, "Well, what the hell's a chemistry test? Like, I don't even know what that is." She's like, "Oh, well, you'll meet him, and we're going to see how you guys interact together." I said, "What's his name? What show is this?" They wouldn't even tell me. And I'm thinking, Jesus, this is really, I was like, I was more curious than anything, because I didn't think for a million years I would be on a show. I said, "You're on, whatever." So anyway, it was a couple days later, like a week later, I guess, they fly me out to Arizona. Well, I get sick like 2 days later. I had the flu. I was sick as a dog. I fly out there, and it was weird because they had us sequestered. They wouldn't let us talk to anyone. They put me in my room. They said, "Stay here. If you need food, we'll bring it to you." So the next morning I go out, they drove, and there's like one guy over here, one guy over here, one guy over there. And come to find out, there were two former SEAL Team 6 guys, a former Delta guy, and a former MARSOC guy, and me. I think that's what it was. Yeah. So anyway, I'm thinking, wow, this is really interesting. And I still didn't know what was going on. So one at a time, one guy I see go over this hill, and he comes back about an hour later, and then they come up to me. The second producer says, "Look, there's a trail right here. We want you to walk down the trail. You can go over a hill, and you're going to see the other host standing there. Just pick up a conversation with the guy. Just start talking to him." I'm like, "About what?" They're like, anything. And he goes, "And just ignore everything else." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So I go walking down this trail, dude, and I walk over this hill, and it's just vehicles and cameras. I'm like, "What the hell?" Like, it was like, it stopped me in my tracks. and a tent set up, and I look, and who do I see? And I see Cody Lundeen. And I knew immediately who it was because I used to watch the show. I was a big fan of Dave Canterbury. You know, he's a former military guy. He was really good on the show, and great dude. And I'm like, holy shit, did like Dave Canterbury get killed or something? Like, I didn't know, you know? And so I walked down, and the first thing I said to Cody was like, let me see the bottom of your feet. And that's how the whole conversation started. But I found out later, about 10 minutes into the interview, the producer said, that's the guy right there. We're done, you know, but let the other guys do their thing. But that's the guy I want right there. But they didn't tell me. So I do my thing and I leave. They walk me back to the vehicle and they shake my hand and say, hey, thanks for coming out. Don't say shit to me. I figured, I'm done. So I go home. About 10 days later, like this is out of my mind, I'm driving down the road and my phone rings. And I'll never forget this. And I looked down and it was like a 516 area code. I'm like, who the hell is calling me from? I think it's New York or something, you know? So I pick up my phone. You can't even make this up, dude. True story. I said, hello. And I hear this guy on the other end go, is this Joe? Very serious. Is this Joe Teti? I'm like, yep. So, well, my name's so-and-so, and I'm an attorney. And I went, click. And I hung up the phone. And I'm thinking, why in the hell is a New York attorney calling me? It ain't to tell me I won the freaking lottery,
Right.
You know? So I set my phone down and it rings again. And I look down and it's the same number. And here's where your life, like literally, because the guy told me if you didn't pick up, I was calling the next dude, like straight up. So I pick up the phone and I go, hello. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I think we got disconnected. And I said, no, dude, I hung up on you. I said, what do you want? And he's like, did you not just do a chemistry test for discovery for dual survival? I said, yeah. He's like, do you want the fucking job or not? Like straight up. I'm like, holy shit. And I remember I was in front of this gas station. I pulled in. Every time I drove by it, it brought me back. I pulled in. I was so flabbergasted because they wanted an answer right then. But I knew my whole life was going to change. You know, I just knew it. It was all going to change. Don't ask me why. I was like, you know what? You're on, dude. And I did it. And, you know, it was a great experience. But just remember something. TV is one-dimensional. You know, you only see what they want you to see. It was a brutal show to shoot, brutal. You know, I got sick many, many times on it. And then, of course, you know, you've got all the jealous nutcases out there, you know, and just I can go on and on and on. And, you know, you deal with that stuff. And all it is, dude, is just jealousy and obsession and stupid shit. And you got to deal with that. It's a public figure. You got to deal with it. And I've dealt with my share of it, believe me. And the bottom line is the beauty of it is it's done. That was a stage of my life. It was a job, no different than what anyone else does. And, you know, I got to travel all over the world first class, got to do some really cool stuff, see some beautiful places, you know, got to shoot a red stag in New Zealand. I mean, good Lord, if you don't know what the hunting tag is, just for that alone, I couldn't afford it. You know, flew there on the Dreamliner, you know, had a great time. But, you know, as much in life, and I tell this to people who's ever listening, wow, cool, we were on TV, but guys, it's a balance. What it gives you, there's going to be a take too. And there was, you know, there was a lot of takes. So, but it's over and done with, and it was a great experience. And, you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, but it's, you know, time to move on. And I did it for 3 years. And I've taken that knowledge and, you know, my little 15 minutes to fame and, you know, kind of propelled myself to the next level. And, but yeah, to answer your question, it was literally to answer your question, to shut one of my friends the hell up. That's literally why I turned to my name. True story, dude. True story.
So, like I said, Mike Barr is my business partner. He was for 8 episodes of American Muscle before he pulled the plug on Discovery Channel. And just so people understand, you know, as his business partner and to promote our company I'm like, dude, we're going to be on TV. It's going to be awesome.
Right.
But the reality is what they show you as the edited version of whatever the show is and what you were expecting it to be, as with Mike's case, as the star of the show. And, you know, he wanted it to be about the people he helped and the rehab clients he did, the neurological stuff. He helped people that weren't walk. And it turned into a character driven. They tried to get all his trainers to have a character and they had to stay in that character. And it turned into a goddamn circus. So he pulled the plug. And I can only imagine for reality TV, whether it's as asinine as like, Bachelor in Paradise or something stupid like that.
Right.
To the stuff you see that's supposed to be real life educational, which yours was educational, teaching people how to survive in environments and do different things.
They call it a docu-series, actually. That's the actual name. It's called a docu-series.
And there's always some level of like, and I don't know if it is for you or not, but like when you go back and watch your episodes, you're like, damn, I wish they would have showed this, this, and this.
Well, let me tell you something, man. That was my biggest fear. Like, are you going to make me look like a total idiot?
Right.
But I will tell you, the executive producer for the production company, Mr. Brian Nichelle, is an absolute professional. He made a guy like me, some average guy, look like a superstar. And I will tell you, honestly, dude, out of all I think I shot 42 episodes. I can honestly tell you there's not one where I went like, dude, really? I got lucky. And, that was my biggest fear. And I talked to Mr. Nichelle on many occasions, like, dude, please don't do this to me. Like, I know you can manipulate and do all kinds of stuff, but he's like, Joe, my job is to make you look great. And I'll be honest with you, I could not have asked for a better executive producer for the production company. Because as you know, Discovery doesn't video crap. They pay people to video crap.
Right.
And so they paid, Original Media, which was a production company, to shoot my show. And Brian was the executive producer for the entire time. And the guy is just a rock star, dude. He's a stud. We think the same. He was there. And he was a great mentor to me because I'm like, TV, like what? And he's like, dude, here was the biggest thing he said to me. We hired you to be you. Don't freaking act. Just be you. And I said, okay, I'll be me. And that's why I was so popular on the show. I didn't try to act. I wasn't trying to be like this and talk like this. And I was me. And sadly, as you know, when people stick a camera in your face, you think, oh, I got to act. No, it's a freaking reality show. I'm not Tom Cruise or, Brad Pitt. They're actors. They're professional actors who have training on to be those characters. I just had to be Joe Teti. And I was. And Brian will tell you to this day, that's why the ratings for my show went to the highest ratings when I was on the show. And it wasn't just me, me and Matt and Matt was a fantastic partner, stud, the guy's in stud shape.
Mm-hmm.
I could climb like a spider monkey, swim like a fish. He could outrun me and we could do all kind of cool guy stuff. Cody, not so much, it wasn't his thing. And so, and they were both excellent primitive skills guys. And I learned a lot of primitive skills, but me personally, and I tell this to everybody all the time, if you're out in the woods rubbing sticks together to start a fire, you should be taken out of the gene pool for being stupid.
Right.
It's called a freaking lighter. Okay.
Right.
And even the best, like Matt Graham, this guy's the best in the world. He's made thousands of primitive fires and he still failed. It's not as easy as it looks. Trust me. I know it's not. And when you have guys like that failing, what do you think the average person's going to do? You're going to die. You will not survive. You will not survive. And so, but yeah, man, it was a very interesting experience. And I got to see how TV was made, and, I was always asking questions. We had the best crew out there. Our crew, they're a bunch of studs, dude. Now think about it. Wherever we were going, they were going carrying cameras and sound gear. Bert, our sound guy, the guy's a stud, been all over the freaking world like 3 times. He was like the Renaissance man. Yeah, Derek Carver, who is our head photographer. That guy had been there, done that. And then Russ Phil, another guy. And these guys were super studs. And if it weren't for them, dude, I wouldn't have been able to do the show, first off. And they made me look like a superstar. And that's the truth. That's the truth.
I think that's a great point to make because we watch TV and you get transfixed on the stars of the show and what's happening on the show. When especially in reality TV and a show like yours or like Bear Grylls or even the TV show Survivor. I mean, they're in some shitty areas and there's somebody holding the camera and somebody holding the mic and somebody and you got to imagine those guys aren't necessarily meant to be studs. But think about that, all the work that goes into being on location remotely and getting the shots and the sound and the quality and all
they're
that.
the miracle workers. Look, I think credit should be given where credit is due. My job was easy compared to what they were doing. I watched Derek Carver with my own eyes rappel down next to me in Norway, literally on a cliff that was frozen. This guy was rappelling down with one hand, carrying a camera, shooting while Cody and I were rappelling. I mean, those are the kind of guys that make great TV. You know, it's all the B-roll that Russ Phil would shoot. I mean, this guy was a genius. He would be out there and have his camera on time lapse for like to show the sky moving. It was how you, and then you give it to a guy like Brian Nichelle, and he puts it all together, you know. And just to give you guys an idea who's listening, to shoot a 1 hour show, which is actually not an hour, what is it, 43 minutes when you take out the commercials, we needed to shoot for 40 hours of film. 40 hours. Because I'll be honest with you, I have been on location shooting that show where we bumped into people like the second day. And they're like, keep going. We don't got enough film, you know? And so, yeah, the real stars of the show are the guys behind the camera. If people only knew, you know, like I remember another time when Matt and I were in Exuma, and, you know, there were sharks all over the damn place. And I saw Derek in the water with the sharks and guys swimming around with the shark. I mean, like, I was like, God dang, these guys are freaking nuts, you know? But they had done it so many times. It was just like nothing to them, you know?
But that's their mountain. Like being able to, like the rush that you get from training, from doing, that's their rush. Like, dude, I got to get this shot. Like I'll walk on hot lava.
Bro, these guys were the consummate perfectionists. Like I saw, you know, Russ shoot stuff and he would shoot, no. Same with Derek. Do it again. They wanted that. And same with Brian. He wanted it. He knew it when he saw it. He's like, all right, good. You got it. Next, move on. That kind of thing, you know? I got real lucky, bro. I haven't been on, you know, other shows, but I can just tell you from my personal experience and being on Dual Survival, which is a very dangerous show to shoot. Yeah. Like I've been charged by a lion in Africa, an elephant, you know, paddled past hippopods, you know, dealt with poisonous snakes, you know, high altitudes, you know, minus 35 degrees with a wind chill factor of minus 55. I mean, scary shit. And, you know, these guys are right there in it with you, man. It's you know, I have a whole different look when I watch TV now, not like Beverly Hills Housewives and that, bleh, you know, whatever. That's shot in the city, but you watch any show that's shot in an austere environment, bro, there's a lot. Now remember, you're carrying all that gear in. We had 50 Pelican cases, 50 when we checked on planes. You got to bring extra batteries and extra cameras and extra sound gear and extra, because guess what? When you're out there, you're out there.
Yeah, you're not going to Walmart to pick up another battery.
No bullshit. When we were in Wyoming, I can't remember if it was Wyoming. It was the coldest I've ever been. We were on top of a mountain. It was Matt and I, broken down snowmobile. They literally, the batteries were dying so fast because it was so cold. They had guys on snowmobiles riding all the way back to where they were charging them and like shuttling them back and forth and back and forth. I mean, crazy logistical shit. Crazy. You can't even imagine it. Can't even imagine. But they all did a great job.
And imagine a war and being in a special forces unit and you're deployed in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Afghanistan, and all the pieces that have to work in tandem for a mission to go off with success.
Yeah, dude, it was amazing.
It's the same type of teamwork environment where there's the support guys, the spec op guys, the comms guys, the intel guys, they're all working in tandem to get.
Oh, dude, and we had Advon people that would actually go out and scout in front of us like weeks ahead. So we'd be shooting a show in Sri Lanka, and they already had people in Norway looking around like, hey, where are we going to shoot this? You know, and you were just boom, boom, boom. I mean, we weren't just shooting one show at a time. No lie, dude. I'm not joking. This was the worst. We shot in Sri Lanka, right? 104 degrees, 99% humidity, mangrove swamps, brutal jungle. Shot there for 2 episodes. Jumped on a plane, flew to Oman, to the Arabian desert, 120 degrees, no humidity. Shot an episode there, jumped on a plane. They dropped us off on a freaking glacier in Norway. Back to back to back. Oh, dude, smoked your ass. Oh yeah.
Just on the for your body's internal clock to adapt.
Dude, it was brutal. And then everybody's like, "Oh, you sleep on the plane?" Really? I'm sleeping on the plane, and I've got terrible diarrhea. I actually flew. I flew from Sri Lanka to Oman, literally in the bathroom of the airplane. When I sat down and we took off and got to altitude, I told the stewardess, "You got 2 choices. You can let me sit here in the seat and I'm going to shit all over the place, or you're going to let me sit in the toilet." And I was running at both ends. And she's like, "Really?" I'm like, "I'm not joking." I literally flew. I would hope the plane crashed. I was like sitting on the toilet with my head on the sink. It was that bad. Ugh. Straight up, dude. Oh, it was brutal.
All that for a TV show.
Yes, sir. Like I said, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it. And
that's that give and take you're talking about.
Bro, I have permanent stomach issues from shooting that show. Permanent. Yeah. So, and that's not their fault. It's not Discovery's fault. No. It was the nature of the beast. I knew what I was eating. When you start eating bugs and shit food and crappy water over and over and over and over, it's going to do something to your stomach,
Well, man, I'll tell you what, we could have another hour-long conversation. We may do that down the road. But I want to thank you. I know it was a last-minute thing. Dale put this thing together for us, and I appreciate that. Your story is amazing. I'm sure what you and Dale are doing together with Tier 1 is going to be amazing.
Thank you.
What websites are out there that people, for the coaching, for the book, for your personal website, throw those out there?
Yes, sir. So if you want to go to Tier 1 Performance Coaching, it's just tier1performancecoaching.com. We've got a basic website up right now. We just wanted to get something up. Mm-hmm. We're working on a better site. And then my book, you can just go to Amazon, excuse me, and just type in Lone Operator by Joseph Teti. Boom. You can pre-order it right now. And if you want to link up with me on my Facebook page, there's a bunch of other bogus pages out there that people set up. My official page has the circle with the check mark, and I've got like 134,000 fans. And at the top of the page, you'll see my book stuff. So, if you want to join me on my fan page. But yeah, man, it's life's good, man. Like I said, I'm in a happy place right now. No complaints from this guy. I'm blessed. And thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Let me ask you one last question. If you had one final thought that whether, and it doesn't have to be directed at any one demographic, but what is the one parting thought that you would like to leave with my listeners so that they can get a true understanding of where your mind, heart, and soul are at as a human being on this planet?
Wow, that's a good question. Again, the first thing that came to my mind is, everybody wants to be happy. Let's just boil it down to the prime component. Whatever happiness is for you, whether you want to be rich or poor or whatever you want to do, just understand the battle to get there is going to be, you're going to have to fight it. Murphy's Law is right around the corner. And, whether you're in business for yourself or anything else, whenever you're striving to do greatness, you just sent a telegraph message to Murphy to come screw with you. And you got to be in it to win it. Stay in the fight. This life is very short. The time that the good Lord gives us here, the plug can be pulled at any time. Make the best of every day. Tell those that you love them, because you might not get another chance. It's just about living, man, being happy, striving for that next mountain, feeling good about yourself, feeling good for your family, and finding that balance in your life, and if you can find that balance in your life, you're a rich person. I don't care how much money you have or how little money, because if you're happy, that's all it's about, happiness, and I'm kind of right in that sweet spot right now. How long it's going to last, I don't know, but I'm enjoying it while I can. And, just just be thankful for every single day you have on this planet, because nothing's promised.
I
That would
love
be
it,
my
brother.
thing.
Well, hang tight. We're going to talk off the air. Everybody,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much for tuning into this episode of the 2 Dates and a Dash podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cubbler. Once again, thank you again to my man, Joseph Teti. I'm going to put all the links to his book, to his website for Tier 1, to his Facebook. Everything will be in the show notes as well as on all social media posts. Brother, take care of yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Continued success in everything that you do. And
You.
I have no doubt that just based on your life story thus far, that if nothing else, you're going to give it hell until it's no more time to give it hell.
Sir.
And I truly do appreciate being on the show.
Thank
Everybody,
you,
thank you very much. God bless, and go out and be kind to one another.